Stephen A. Smith just lost his mind on national television, and for once, it wasn't because someone disrespected the Cowboys or forgot to put LeBron in their top 5. Nope, this time, the smoke was reserved for the WNBA, specifically the MVP conversation. And guess who's the eye of the hurricane? None other than Caitlin Clark. Yes, Stephen A. delivered an on-air sermon so loud you could hear it in the parking lot, complete with finger-wagging, volume spikes, and enough sweat to fog up the first take cameras. You know when Stephen A. starts pacing and throwing down words like thunderbolts, it's not a debate, it's a spectacle. And when he set his sights on Caitlin Clark, it was an explosion, a sports media monologue turned Broadway soliloquy. He didn't just support the idea of her winning MVP, he demanded it. If you weren't on board before, congrats. Stephen A. just guilt-tripped your conscience into switching sides. If you think Clark will win MVP this year, comment Caitlin for MVP down below. Now let's be real. Subtlety has never been Stephen A.'s thing. This man doesn't whisper, he detonates. When he talks hoops, it's less of a chat and more like an audio earthquake. And this time, the epicenter wasn't Madison Square Garden or Crypto.com Arena. It was Indiana. Because Caitlin Clark has been cooking up so much on-court sorcery that even the loudest voice in sports media had to turn up his dial another notch. The WNBA's most dangerous sophomore, the queen of logo threes, the walking ankle breaker, has officially entered Stephen A.'s obsession zone. And when she entered the league, casually pulling up from deep like it was a free throw, you just knew this man was going to hit DEFCON 1 eventually. Spoiler alert, that moment has arrived. In what can only be described as a caffeine-fueled verbal volcano, Stephen A. broke the sports media sound barrier to say what everyone's been thinking, but afraid to admit. Caitlin Clark might just be the real MVP. Not someday, not eventually, right now. The type of player who makes seasoned defenders rethink their life choices and opposing GMs lose sleep, wondering how they let her slip through their fingers. And this wasn't some half-hearted segment tucked into the end of a rundown. No, this was a full-blown Stephen A. theatrical event. You could practically hear the poor ESPN camera operators praying for a commercial break as he launched into an epic hot take ballet, somewhere between she's a bucket and she's changing the league. His point? Crystal clear. Caitlin Clark isn't just here, she's taking over. She's slinging dimes, splashing logo shots, and turning defensive schemes into memes. Let's not act surprised. Stephen A. didn't suddenly stumble onto the Caitlin Clark bandwagon. He's been riding shotgun since Iowa. He's been hyping her up like she's a mix of Steph Curry's range, Diana Taurasi's fire, and Sue Bird's floor general wizardry, only with better angles for social media highlight reels. But this time, he wasn't hinting. He was hollering. He didn't float the idea of MVP, he commanded it. As in, why are we even pretending there's a debate? As in, how many more logo threes do you need to see before we hand her the trophy? As in, turn in your analyst badge if Caitlin's not at the top of your MVP list. You want to promote the sport. You put that girl up in there and people were appalled at that notion. Smith's take didn't just join the MVP discussion, it hijacked it. His rant reset the entire conversation. It was less hot take and more public service announcement. MVP voters, hope you were watching, because Stephen A. just pulled out the sports media megaphone and said what every fan in sold-out fever arenas has been screaming all season long. And honestly, is MVP even enough of a title? Let's take a beat and acknowledge the complete absurdity that is Caitlin Clark's rookie year. This isn't a good start. It's a basketball fever dream. She's casually averaging video game numbers, treating triple teams like a warm-up drill, and throwing passes so accurate she could probably thread a needle from half-court. Data nerds are short-circuiting trying to process her advanced stats. True shooting percentage, ridiculous. Assist ratio, historic. Impact on ticket sales, viewership, merch, arena electricity, national dialogue. Unprecedented. And yes, the bodies are piling up. Opposing defenders out here needing therapy and new ankles after running into the Caitlin Clark blender. She's not just a player, she's a cheat code. It's like the WNBA accidentally downloaded a next-gen player from the future into the league, and now no one knows how to stop her. Most second-year players are still figuring out how to rotate on defense without looking lost. Caitlin, She's draining game winners, signing autographs mid-dribble, and calling plays like she's the team's offensive coordinator. So when Stephen A. snapped, he was right on time. And the best part, it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. With the energy of a preacher in a tent revival, the theatrics of a man possessed, and the conviction of someone who's watched greatness in every era and knows it when he sees it. At one point, you half expected him to levitate or throw holy water on the production crew. It was glorious. It was chaotic. It was vintage Stephen A. And somewhere out there, the legacy WNBA media, the gatekeepers who still think the face of the league should come from the old guard, probably winced. Because nothing rattles a traditionalist more than a generational player being anointed MVP by the biggest voice in sports. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting her turn, she's taking it. And Stephen A. just gave her the ultimate endorsement. So if you're still clinging to the idea that someone else should be MVP, maybe it's time to accept what fans, Vegas odds makers, ESPN producers, and 15,000 screaming fans in Iowa already know. Caitlin Clark is that girl. And you just knew this was coming. Stephen A. Smith can't go 5 minutes without dropping a Hall of Famer's name like it's seasoning in his favorite dish. The man's brain is basically a walking NBA Hall of Fame induction speech. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, the holy trinity of ESPN references. And boom, there he went, speed running through legends like he was unlocking them in a 2K fantasy draft. Each name more iconic than the last, and each one rolled out with the dramatic flair of someone announcing a royal lineage. But here's what Stephen A. didn't need to say, and maybe didn't even realize. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to be the next anybody, not the next Magic, not the next Bird, not the next insert legendary comparison here. Caitlin isn't checking boxes on some legacy scavenger hunt. She's rewriting the whole list. She's not fitting into anyone's mold. She's smashing the mold with a logo 3, and then walking off like it was nothing. She's the first, last, and only Caitlin Clark, and that's more than enough. This girl is a superstar. I've been saying it for years. I keep telling everybody she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball, college or pro. She is a superstar. While Stephen A. was out here verbally suplexing his co-hosts and spinning sports cliches like he was in a dunk contest of metaphors, something real was happening underneath all the theatrics. Clark isn't just a shooter. She's a surgeon with the ball. A point guard with Jedi-level court awareness. A walking highlight reel who doesn't need context or a shot clock to own the moment. She's a scorer, yes, but she's also the kind of player that pulls gravity like a planet. And every game she touches feels like it has an event horizon. And of course, it wouldn't be a Stephen A. Smith special without some truly deranged metaphors. 1 second she's Steph Curry with better aim. The next, defenders are extras in a horror movie she's directing. But as exaggerated as it sounds, none of it feels that far off. Watching Caitlin Clark run the fast break is like watching Neo in the Matrix. Everything slows down, except her. Blink once, and she's at the rim. Blink twice, and she's already posted the clip with a clever caption and 200,000 likes, SGA. And to speak to her, to be around her, she's got charisma, she's got style, she's got bravado, she's got class, she's smart as hell. Communicates her thoughts very, very well. She is so incredibly marketable. Yes, MVP talk requires more than razzle-dazzle. We get it. Leadership, impact, efficiency, team performance, the checklist of basketball purity. But here's the thing. Caitlin's already checked them all. Then double-checked them. Then added a note that says, yeah, and I did it all while changing the league's entire energy. The Indiana Fever, once considered the WNBA's equivalent of a tanking NBA team, suddenly looked dangerous. Opponents now spend practices scripting ways to slow down a rookie. The WNBA's schedule bends around her. TV cameras can't get enough. And arenas. They've gone from ghost towns to gladiator coliseums. One Caitlin Clark appearance, and it's a fire code violation waiting to happen. Her coming into the NBA in the WNBA, you could just feel, I don't want to use the word resentment at all, because it's not fair to women basketball players out there who may have critiqued her. But what I'm saying is that when you're talking about her greatness, it is perfectly okay for those who had been great to say, okay, let's see what you've got. Ticket sales? Try ticket explosion. We haven't seen this kind of hype since Lisa Leslie made dunking newsworthy. Except this time, it's louder, faster, and viral in real time. Fans are skipping rent to sit courtside. Security needs backup. And Caitlin Clark? She's calmly launching logo bombs like it's a warm-up drill. Cue the skeptics. Oh, they're here, crawling out of their Twitter drafts, clutching dusty accolades from yesteryear, muttering that she's too young, too new, not ready. The same tired script we've seen a million times. They hide behind phrases like earning it and paying dues while conveniently ignoring that Clark is already the biggest draw in women's sports, and maybe sports, period. Here's the truth. MVP doesn't care about seniority. MVP cares about impact. And Caitlin Clark isn't just impacting games. She's altering the weather. She's the storm warning every coach fears, the matchup nightmare nobody wants. This season, MVP doesn't mean most valuable player. It means most vicious problem. And Caitlin is exactly that. Every opposing game plan now starts with her name, underlined, highlighted, and circled in red. Coaches are sleeping less. Defensive schemes are being redesigned overnight. And it still doesn't matter. She drops 28 and makes it look like a Sunday stroll. Caitlin Clark is coming. Some people think she's already a rock. I don't. I think she's going to be even better. And I think that what she has done for women's basketball, especially in this country, has been phenomenal. There is no woman, no matter how great you were as a player. Stephen A. didn't just rant, he went full nuclear. You'd think Caitlin stole his parking spot the way he erupted, but underneath the volcanic outburst was admiration. Raw, unfiltered awe. The kind of respect Stephen A. rarely gives out unless your last name is Jordan or Brady. Let's talk about the vibe shift. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just about basketball, it's an energy quake. Every city she visits feels like the Super Bowl is in town. Pre-game warm-ups now feature camera crews, not just coaches. Opposing players. Some of them switch assignments just to avoid being the next viral crossover victim. ESPN ? They're practically running a Caitlin Clark channel at this point, because when she came into the WNBA, for 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They would beg her for charter flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got charter flights. She automatically and instantaneously improved the conditions. Attendance is still lagging. WNBA is still losing money compared to what you would hope it would earn, but clearly things are on an upward trending. Back in the studio, Stephen A. is practically speaking in tongues. His vocal range is somewhere between gospel preacher and malfunctioning fire alarm. His co-hosts are ducking for cover. The sound guy's hitting the mute button like it owes him money. And still, the man keeps going, because the truth he's preaching is undeniable. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. This isn't hype. This isn't a flash in the pan. This is a tectonic shift in women's basketball. Twitter is ablaze. Stats are being thrown around like confetti, and players around the league are realizing that Caitlin Clark didn't come to blend in. She came to take over. It's improving, as she has everything to do with it. Attendance for Indiana Fever games, are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN television ratings. She's directly responsible. She scores like breathing. She dimes teammates like she's running a clinic. She doesn't wait for praise. She earns it, then walks away smiling while you figure out what just happened. She's casually dropping double-doubles while her defenders start reevaluating their career paths. And sure, the MVP field is stacked. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, legends. But what Caitlin's doing, it's not just great, it's generational. It's the kind of season that makes you rewrite your expectations for what a rookie can be. Stephen A. may have sounded like he was trying to summon the gods of basketball with each syllable, but the point stood tall amid the theatrics. Caitlin Clark is not hype. She's proof. She's power. She's production. And if you still think someone else should be MVP, you haven't been watching. So as the season rolls forward, and Caitlin keeps casually bending the laws of physics while keeping a smile on her face, just remember what Stephen A. said. This isn't normal. This isn't expected. This is extraordinary. If the MVP award really means what it's supposed to, impact, excellence, leadership, transformation, then Caitlin Clark has already won. And every time she launches another logo 3 with the calm of someone swatting a fly, she's just patting her resume. So yeah, go ahead and hold on to your old school takes. Hang on tight to your "she needs more experience" arguments. Just don't be surprised when she drops 40, ends your team's playoff hopes, and then signs a few jerseys on the way out. Because if Stephen A. Smith, king of bombast, president of volume, first ballot Hall of Fame yeller, is ready to bow down and say she might just be the MVP, then the rest of us better catch up fast. If you think Clark will win MVP this year, comment Caitlin for MVP down below.